أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم اهد قلبي وسدد لساني واسلل سخيمة قلبي آمين يا رب العالمين. Inshallah, we will continue with our study of Surah Aal-e-Imran, and today we will begin from verse number 121. Remember that Surah Aal-e-Imran is a Madani surah, which means that it was revealed after the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina. And parts of the surah were actually revealed regarding the Battle of Uhud, which was in the 3rd year after Hijrah. And the Battle of Uhud was actually very different from the Battle of Badr. We see that the Battle of Badr was sudden, it was unexpected, the Muslims were unprepared, and there were also very few. The Battle of Uhud, on the other hand, was somewhat expected. It was planned. The Muslims were, more prepared, and there were also much more in terms of number. Yet, Badr was a victory, and Uhud was a victory that turned into a huge loss. So these verses over here, they show us how we must learn from our experiences. It is very important that we reflect on what went right, we reflect on what needs to be fixed, and we reflect on what the next steps should be. Because if we don't learn from our experiences, we insist on our old patterns, we will not be able to make any progress. If we want a different outcome, then we have to do what is different. We can't just be sad and upset about the loss that we have experienced. That is understandable. It is very normal to feel upset, very normal to feel the pain and the hurt. But if we really want to make progress, we have to learn from our experience. And that cannot happen if we don't reflect on what went right, what needs to be fixed, and what the next steps should be. So these verses help us understand what lessons we can take from such experiences. So let's begin. Ayah number 121. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ غَدَوْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ تُبَوِّئُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مَقَاعِدَ لِلْقِتَالِ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And remember when you, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, left your family to post the believers at their stations for the battle, and Allah is hearing and knowing. So the Prophet ﷺ played his part very well. When he received news of the people of Mecca arriving to launch an offensive against the Muslims, the Prophet ﷺ consulted the companions that what should we do? Should we stay in Medina and defend ourselves from within, or should we go out in the open and fight them in an open plain? Meaning, should we have a full-on battle? The Prophet ﷺ personally wanted to defend the Muslims by staying in Medina. And he said that I see myself in a protected fortress, because Medina is such that it has natural protections. So they could use those protections to their advantage. But the younger companions, especially those who had not participated in the Battle of Badr, strongly expressed their wish to go and fight the enemy in the open. So the Prophet ﷺ accepted that, because that is what the result of the discussion was. And the Prophet ﷺ, as a leader, what did he do? He discussed the matter with the people. The people gave their input, a conclusion was made, and then that decision was carried out. We learned that some companions, they actually felt bad about, the fact that the Prophet ﷺ wished for something else, but they insisted on something different, and that is what the Prophet ﷺ agreed to do. So they actually went and apologized to him. But the Prophet ﷺ said it is not appropriate that once a prophet has worn his armor, he takes it off without engaging in battle. Meaning, once we have made this decision, we are going to stick to it. We're not going to change it. So the Prophet ﷺ is being praised over here. وَإِذْ غَدَوْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. And when you left your family, meaning the decision to go out of Medina in order to fight the enemy, because that decision was made with consultation. Everyone agreed to it. So the Prophet ﷺ is being praised over here. And you see, this decision was made unanimously. And then he stuck with the plan. تُبَوِّئُ الْمُؤْمِنَ مَقَاعِدَ لِلْقِتَالِ. He went to the plain to the Uhud, and then he was posting the believers at their stations for the battle. He did not say, well, this was your idea, so now you figure it out yourselves. No, once the decision was made that this is what's going to happen, the Prophet ﷺ led people in that. Now, Uhud, remember, is a mile-long series of mountains, and it is in the northwest of Medina. The Prophet ﷺ took the army to a spot by the foot of the mountain where three sides were protected by the mountain. And there was a small, opening in the center, which the Prophet ﷺ sealed off by appointing 50 archers over there. So really, there was a very small area of about 300 meters where the Muslims would have to fight the enemy. And the great numbers of the enemy would be irrelevant now because there was such a small area in which they would have to squeeze through. So this was very good planning. This was very good strategy. So the Prophet ﷺ is being praised over here. تُبَوِّئُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مَقَاعِدَ لِلْقِتَالِ. You went out and you were posting the believers at their stations for the battle. And the Prophet ﷺ gave very clear instructions, especially to the 50 archers that he had positioned in the opening, where there was a chance that the enemy would come from there. The Prophet ﷺ said to them that stick to your places and do not leave it, even if you see birds snatching us, until I send for you. Meaning, do not leave your place until I tell you to. And if you see that we have defeated the enemy and we have made them flee, even then you should not leave your place until I tell you. So the Prophet ﷺ gave people their positions, and he also gave them very clear instructions. Wallahu sami'un alim, and Allah is hearing, knowing. Meaning the instructions that the Prophet ﷺ gave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heard those. And you can imagine, a lot was being said at that time, because when there is a group of people working together, then, instructions are being given. Some people are paying attention, others are not, paying attention. Others misunderstand. Later they say, oh, no one told us anything. Why? Because, people interpret different things differently. Some people are more attentive, others are not. Wallahu sami'un alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever hearing, ever knowing. He heard everything that was said. He knows how people were behaving, what people were doing. And you see, when people are working together, different people are saying different things. Now, sometimes we are talking to ourselves, and other times, we are talking to the people who are around us. It is very important that what we say is something positive, because what we say is going to impact us, and it's also going to impact other people. It is very normal that when you're working with people, you get frustrated, you get upset, you have anxiety, you sometimes get angry. So it is important that we turn, that frustration into dua. Use that energy of anxiety into, making dhikr. Let those tears of anger and hurt and fear flow and turn them into dua. So, Wallahu sami'un alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Some people were talking in cooperation, and we also learned that others were bickering. For example, we learn that even before the Muslims reached Uhud, Abdullah ibn Ubay returned to Medina. He went back to Medina with 300 people. And Abdullah ibn Ubay was a hypocrite, and this is when his hypocrisy was revealed. And what excuse did he give? He said that I never wanted to fight the enemy in the open. I wanted to remain in Medina and defend the city from within. So I don't agree with your plan and I will have no part in it. So he literally abandoned the Muslims, abandoned the rest of the people, and he went back to Medina. Wallahu sami'un alim. Then it is said, إِذْ هَمَّ الطَّائِفَتَانِ مِنْكُمْ أَن تَفْشَلَا وَاللَّهُ وَلِيُّهُمَا. When two parties among you were about to lose courage, but Allah was their ally. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And upon Allah, the believers should rely. You see, when Abdullah bin Ubay left, there were two groups of the Ansar, the Banu Haritha and the Banu Salama, who almost went along with Abdullah bin Ubay or soon after him. Why? Because they became afraid. They were also almost influenced by Abdullah bin Ubay. So it's very normal when you see people leaving, when you see people quitting, that has an effect on your morale also. So these two groups were about to return. They were about to go back to Medina. But it is said, Wallahu waliyuhuma. Allah was their ally. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthened their hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them firmness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them so they did not quit. You see, beginning something, starting something good is easy. It is exciting. There's that adrenaline rush. But then as the excitement kind of, goes down and you begin to see the challenges, you actually have to work and you see, people quitting, then fear and dread takes over you. And it's very easy to quit over there, or at least a person begins to, think about it that maybe I should stop. But if it's the right thing to do, then we must push through. Remember, it's where the burn is that success lies in. For example, if you want to exercise only until you're comfortable, meaning you don't want to feel any burn in your muscles, then you're never going to make any progress. When you're moving your body and your core begins to hurt, the muscles begin to burn, that is a sign that you're making progress. So remember that to make any progress, you definitely have to experience the difficulty, the pain. And istiqamah, remaining firm on good things, is only possible by the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables a person. So wallahu waliyuhuma, Allah was their ally. Allah was their protector. Allah was their friend. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 257, we learn, Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur. That Allah is the friend, the protector of those people who believe, and He brings them out of darknesses into light. He brings them out of their, state of weakness to strength. He brings them out of doubt towards clarity. He brings them out of their state of double-mindedness to certainty. From their, weakness, their thinking about quitting, to being firm. So when you're feeling, shaky, you're wondering, should I carry on or not? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for strength. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Ali radiallahu anhu that you should say, Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. That, oh Allah, guide me and saddidni. Make me adhere to the straight path. Meaning, make me go on the straight path, not the wrong path, and then keep me straight on the right path as well, that I don't veer off. I don't go off the right path. Keep me firm on it. Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. And what is it that we need to do? We need to rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Because it is, our fears that make us weak. So put your trust in Allah, not in your own strength, not in your, friends and supporters and your family, not in the people who are working with you, not in, on your success. No, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. This is what will bring you courage and hope and the strength to carry on. Jabir radiallahu anhu said that this ayah was actually revealed about us, meaning the Banu Salama and the Banu Haritha. And we do not wish that it had not been revealed, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wallahu waliyuhuma. Yani this is an honor for us, that yes, we were about to lose courage, but Wallahu waliyuhuma. Allah was their ally. Allah was our ally, and He gave us the strength. So remember, to make mistakes, to feel weak, yes, this is human. But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection and help, a person can get back on the straight path. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everyone's protector. But Allah is the protecting friend of those who believe. Wallahu waliyuhuma. And the greater a person's faith is, the greater a person's commitment is to Allah, the greater protection and friendship they receive from Allah. Wallahu waliyuhuma. وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. And already had Allah given you victory at the battle of Badr while you were few in number. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Therefore fear Allah, perhaps you will be grateful. So the Muslims should rely on Allah. We should not lose courage when we face challenges, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps His slaves. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped the Muslims at Badr. When they were adilla, when they were very few, they were weak. There were only 300 compared to the enemy who were 1,000. But what happened? The Muslims were victorious. How were they victorious? Was it the fact that they were well prepared? Was it the fact that they had, great resources? Or was it just luck? No, they were victorious because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and His tawfiq. So let us learn this lesson, that success is by Allah's help. It is by His tawfiq, not because of what we have or don't have. So let us learn to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our circumstances and seek His help and focus on pleasing Him. And look past your weaknesses and see the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look past the challenges that are before you and see the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Fear Allah, perhaps you will be grateful. You see, gratitude comes after taqwa. When we're feeling ungrateful, when we have, many reasons to complain about our circumstances, when we're feeling, frustrated, then this is because of a lack of connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Negativity, feeling very defeated, feeling very, upset about, your circumstances. This is because of a lack of connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is important that when we're feeling like this, we reorient ourselves. We remind ourselves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah is listening, Allah is watching, that Allah knows, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me a lot, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings good out of every situation, that nothing happens without the will of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise. And when you will think like this, you will find reasons to be grateful. Your negativity will actually go away. It will turn into gratitude, and gratitude will bring you positive energy. It will light passion within you, so you will work happily and energetically towards your goal. So فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. The Muslims are reminded of Badr. إِذْ تَقُولُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remember when you said to the believers, meaning when the Prophet ﷺ was saying to the believers at the Battle of Badr, that أَلَنْ يَكْفِيَكُمْ. Is it not sufficient for you أَنْ يُمِدَّكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ. That your Lord should reinforce you بِثَلَاثَةِ آلَافٍ مِّنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مُنْزَلِينَ. With 3,000 angels that are sent down? Isn't that enough for you? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down 3,000 angels to assist you, to fight alongside you? Bala, yes, إِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا. If you remain patient and conscious of Allah, وَيَأْتُوكُم مِّن فَوْرِهِمْ هَذَا, and the enemy come upon you attacking in rage, يُمْدِدُكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ, your Lord will reinforce you. With how many? بِخَمْسَةِ آلَافٍ مِّنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مُسَوِّمِينَ, with 5,000 angels having marks of distinction. And this happened at the Battle of Badr. Thousands of angels were sent to help the Muslims. And these angels were hidden helpers. There was, of course, Jibreel, the great angels. But besides these great angels, there were thousands of angels to assist the Muslims. And the Muslims didn't see all of them. The Muslims did not see the angels. And yes, we learn about certain reports where the companions mention having seen someone whom, or heard, one of the companions mentioned about how he heard the sound of someone saying Hayzoom, and that was an angel. And this is the case that some companions, yes, they witnessed the angels, but they didn't see all those 3,000, 5,000 angels. So the fact is that when you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you do your best, when you stay firm in the cause of Allah, then the help of Allah will come from where you do not even expect. And such help will come that you are not even aware of. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you in ways that you cannot even see. But this is conditional. How will that help come? In tasbiru wa tattaqu. If you are patient, you have sabr and you have taqwa. What is sabr? That you stay firm, that you bear the hardship, that you do not become weak, you do not quit, you are resilient, you do your best. And tattaqu, you have taqwa, meaning you think what is right, you say what is right, you do what is right, you don't disobey your Lord. In tasbiru wa tattaqu. Because when things get difficult, that is where we start being easy on ourselves. And, we start being so easy on ourselves that we make the unlawful lawful for ourselves. So in tasbiru wa tattaqu. Or sometimes when things are difficult, we start saying things which are inappropriate. We start, thinking things which are inappropriate. So in tasbiru wa tattaqu, you stay firm, you are patient, and you fear Allah. You fulfill your duty to Allah. Then what's going to happen? You're going to receive the help of Allah through ways that are beyond you, in unimaginable ways. وَمَا جَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بُشْرَى لَكُمْ. And Allah made it not except as a sign of good tidings for you. This was good news for you. وَلِتَطْمَئِنَّ قُلُوبُكُمْ بِهِ. And to reassure your hearts thereby. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَكِيمِ. And victory is not except from Allah, the exalted in might, the wise. So you see, when the Muslims were informed, the Prophet ﷺ told them about the thousands of angels that were going to assist them in Badr. This was good news. And through this good news, what happened? Their hearts were reassured. Previously, they were afraid. They were wondering what's going to happen. And you can imagine that anxiety, it overtakes you. So this good news was reassurance for them. It brought contentment to their hearts. It brought ease to their hearts. So remember that any form of help that you receive, any form of tangible help that you receive, sometimes it is in the form of funding, because that is what you are in need of. You need money, you need finances. Sometimes it is in the form of, people's support. Sometimes their vocal support. Anything, any kind of help that you receive, then remember that help is just bushra. It is just good news. It is just something that reassures your heart. But no matter what it is, remember, it can never be the cause of your success. The cause of success, that nasr, that success, comes from who? It is from Allah. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. And this nasr, the help that you have just received, that has also come from Allah. So never be, enamored by the numbers, of the people that are supporting, or the figures, the money, or the funding that has come, etc., etc. Whatever it is, don't be enamored by the help that has come your way. Rather, celebrate the praises of your Lord. Thank Him and glorify Him, because whatever help that has come your way is just a sabab. All of that are just asbab. They are means. And the one who created those means, the one who caused those means to be effective in your case, that is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, musabbibul asbab. So remember Him and thank Him and realize that the help has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.